guitar over here, actually.
And welcome back, everybody. It's 8 p.m. here. It's our first broadcast in English for our Thursday night show, and we have Coal Davie here from Vancouver, Canada. So yeah, like this is like a good opportunity to talk to him. Hey, we're live both on YouTube and Radio Channel 96, my radio station. Um, we wanted to say hi to you to Coal Davie. It's your first time here on our radio. We want to talk about like your music and about your how everything started with your band. Cole is started this band called Coal Davie and the Rockabillionaires, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the genesis of the band. We're talking about like his like upbringing as far as like music wise, and we're gonna talk about a few other things. It's gonna be a nice conversation. Good evening. How's it going?
Hey, Matteo. Good evening, and thank you for having me on your show. I'm really grateful, and it's great
Awesome.
to reunite with you in this interesting way.
Yes, like because we met a long time ago, right? We met on a movie set, right?
That's
Basically.
right. You were making a film, and I was helping you out. It was
Yeah, the
great.
crazy sci-fi project. Yeah, and yeah, we were
Hmm.
like we were younger, but a lot of nothing. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as Cole is as well, and the creativity increased, right?
Yeah,
from that time,
but
right?
by the way, you were younger, but I haven't aged. I haven't aged a
You have
day.
an age. Oh yeah, yeah. But I have to congratulate with your outfit. I mean, I love the style. I mean, and we're
Oh,
gonna talk a little bit about your style for when you guys go on stage. We're gonna show a few things there. So let me ask, starting with the question, like how did everything started? So the start, you're telling me like how off stage basically you are classical upbringing as far as music, right? But how did you get into rock more so?
well, actually, I didn't actually have a classical upbringing. I
Oh,
think maybe
sorry.
you've confused me with someone, but no, funny enough, music started for me as a small child, and I got my hands on a harmonica, and
Mm,
I picked it up, and I could instantly play, any kid's song without any instruction. I could play "Mary Had a Little Lamb" and all of these things, kids want to play, and the Sesame Street theme or whatever. So I always had an instant musical way about me, and I'm not saying that I'm a great musician by any means, but there was always music in me, and I luckily, my mother used to listen to a lot of music when I was a kid. She'd play LPs, and it was very eclectic selection of music. She had all kinds of different stuff, and which was quite an influence. A lot of rock and roll from the 50s and 60s, and even some stuff from the 70s, and so that's really how I think how music became a part of me. But I got as a teenager, I got a guitar, played that guitar in the closet like a closet guitarist. I call myself for many years, and I never really was ever in a band. I never played with anyone much. A couple of jams with a few friends when I was younger, but not really much of anything. And then, but I was always a writer. I was always a writer. I always wrote stories. And
mhm,
a few years ago, I came here to British Columbia from the east coast of Canada. I came out here to work in film and write in film and be involved with film. And I'd always been writing songs for a long time. And I just, a few years ago, I knew it was time. The songs were evolving. The need to perform them was starting to happen. And I decided I was going to get out there and find a band that was looking for someone. And I knew I was going to sing somehow. And I had no experience singing at all, nothing. But I felt that that's what I was going to do. So I went on the internet and the classifieds and found a few different bands looking for singers. And I found a blues band to start. And I played with this blues band for about 6 months. And all I did was sing. And they said, "Boy, I wish we had a harmonica player." And I said, "Well, I play the harmonica." and they were so excited. And I played harmonica with them for that 6 months, and then another band that played blues. They said harmonica players are hard to find, and so they got me to play with them. And then I ended up playing. It was three bands playing harmonica and singing. And then I did. After I got that experience, I knew that I wanted to tell my stories. That's where I wanted to go with this. So I decided to start a band, and I took some of the members from these other bands and got them involved with this band I was starting up. And I said, I think rockabilly is the way to go, because I got around some of the venues here in Vancouver, and I felt that people wanted, action. They wanted to dance. So I had rockabilly. I do have that in me. I really love that genre. I love a lot of genres for sure, but that one I just felt was fun. So I wrote, one set of rockabilly songs, rockabilly style songs, and put them together, and got out and arranged to get a show. And I knew if I could get one show playing one set, I could get audio and video, and I could put together a package that I could market myself as a full night band, and then write two more sets. And that's exactly what I did. I got out. We did the show. A good friend of ours, who's a filmmaker, Ian, came out, and he
Nice.
he helped me film that night. We took all the footage, and I kind of edited together. And then, as this was all happening, I was building, writing two more sets of music, 3 hours worth of music. Wrote three full sets of original. We don't play any cover music. Got the band, we all put it together, and got it all nice and tight. And then that was the first show was October or September 28th. That was our first show, was September 28th. I went to Japan for a month. Then we came back, our second show. So that was one set. I had arranged to get a second show, two sets, on December 6th. So we played a two-set show on December 6th. And then on December 30th, was our first three-set show. And then we played one show every week from then on. That we played more than 50 shows in our first year. So it was a great. That's the
amazing.
story anyway. That's how it all went.
That's amazing.
A bit of a long story, but.
So when you were like you're talking about you were listening to music growing up, and like you always said you had rockabilly in you, and was that the specific kind of music that you were listening to mostly, or you had different? You said you like a lot of genres. You like which ones are the genre that really built your your music passion? Which ones like mainly aside from rock, you're like other type specific.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, I think, listening to the music my parents listened to was, they listened to Elvis Presley a fair bit. So that's where I heard a lot of that rock and roll genre. And they listened to, some the Beatles and things from that era a bit, some stuff from the 70s. So a lot of that kind of roots rock and roll I got from my parents. The evolution, and then as a teenager, then I remember finding AC/DC, and I really liked AC/DC. Now that was until Bon Scott died, and then I really didn't enjoy AC/DC after that. But the 1970s AC/DC years, and this was later than the 70s. I found them, of course, because I'm so young myself, right? But anyway, so after that, it was really interesting. I learned a little bit about them, and then I started to get more and more interested in the history of music. So, I remember going back to the early 1900s, and finding out about big band and how that sort of moved into jazz, and then about I really. Of course, classical. I listened to a lot of classical, and I found that very interesting, and I still listen to all genres of music today. So big band was really interesting, how that moved into jazz and where that went, and how it really evolved into interesting types of jazz through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and still today. And bluegrass music was really big for me, and also how jazz went into New Orleans style music, and I really love that
Nice.
that kind of New Orleans style music a lot. Musicians like Dr. John, you know, I really love that kind of music a lot. Louis Armstrong back in those days. And then, of course, bluegrass I love, like Grandpa Jones, Bill Monroe. A lot of that, love bluegrass. And that there's a lot of that Southern is stuck into me somehow. I really love that feel. And then, you know, the fathers of rockabilly, like one really rings true to me is Charlie Feathers. A lot. I really love Charlie Feathers and his music, and I didn't find that till much later, but really just the simplicity of his music was really fun, and a lot of the stuff that happened with through the years, of course, with Dick Dale and you know, and then in the '80s when we all learned about the Stray Cats and Brian Setzer. I mean, it was just fantastic what they were doing and still are. So there was that, and you know, and then to move into the heavier rocks that happened, you know, like I said, AC/DC was a bit of a heavier rock, and the Southern rock that happened through the '70s, the Allman Brothers, the Leonard Skinner, all those great Southern rock bands, you know, and then even in the '80s, you know, the Black Crowes were doing some really cool Southern rock type sounds in the '80s and '90s, and then I mean, there was so much music, jazz, following Dave Brubeck, Miles Davis, and you know, the big names in jazz, and in those years through the '60s, '70s years, I went back and learned about all of that, and then even, you know, being from the East Coast, there was a lot of Celtic music that I experienced and went through, and that whole how Celtic music works, and listening to it, and it was very interesting. And then the music of comedy has always been fun with me. There's a bit of comedy in some of my music, and there's, you know, comic relief moments at least.
Right.
And listening to Ray Stevens over the years, you know, Ray Stevens is a great comic musician. I really like Jimmy Buffett, you know, from the Southern U.S. A great summer beach feel, and then reggae and ska. I mean, I've loved listening to reggae and ska. Desmond Decker and Bob Marley, of course, and all the different ska. I mean, so much great music.
Yes.
Yeah, I could go on forever, really.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean,
a friend of mine said, did this thing on Facebook, name the 10 albums that influenced you. And it's almost an impossible task.
Can't find it. I know,
there's
right?
so much influence, right? There's so much, and I haven't even talked about Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and all that's, you know, these had big influence on music.
What I wanted to point out about you guys, and unfortunately I haven't been able to see you yet live, but I'm planning to do that very, very soon, as soon as things open up and I'm able to to come out. But what I wanted to point out to our audience is that it's the visual, because you obviously your background is also is film, right? So you have creating the look of the band. There is a visual aspect to it that I can tell already by looking at the pictures, like, and it's pretty incredible, because like a lot of, like, I mean, to be honest, I don't see a lot of bands nowadays having such a striking like look, really, like very, very colorful, right, bright, you know.
Thank you.
So that's really exciting to me already, because that means, yes, it's the music is important, but also the look is really important. And I get a feeling that you guys are a great band to see live, you know, like to give me you can tell me like if it's the case, right? Because yes, so I think that what it looks like to me. And
yeah, thank you.
Tell me more about like the visual aspect and how much work went into this, really.
Well, just that image in front of you right now was a photo shoot that I went on with a local photographer, Yushin Kim, who's an amazing photographer, but he's even more amazing, or just as amazing, at least with photo post. And this work, he's taken a photo of me and done this post work and made it very interesting. When I saw it, I was amazed. And he's done several different things like that. He's a great photographer. Yushin Kim, locally. Velvet Chainsaw Photography is his company, and he's just rebranding his company now into that, and it's really, really cool. So the visual element, for sure. I mean, I've So a little part of my story to sort of, give you the film end of it is, as a child, I grew up in the movie theater
Mm-hmm.
because my grandmother was the box office lady at a movie theater,
All right.
and her brother, my great uncle, was the usher. He ripped the
Mm-hmm.
tickets, and my father was a projectionist. He actually grew up in the movie theater too,
Nice.
and so I grew up there. And when I was a teenager, I became a projectionist as well.
Wow.
So years of visual and story life, right from childhood, sound and sight and all that it was a great gift. And I'm from a small town in the East Coast, and it's really funny because I'll tell you about a film that sort of reminds me a bit of my childhood, not identical to it, but a lot of similar themes. Is this film called Cinema Paradiso?
Oh yeah.
And are you familiar with that film?
Oh
It
yeah.
was Italian film.
Yes.
Beautiful film. I think it's the most romantic film I've ever seen,
That's
even though
true.
there's
Yeah,
not
I agree.
a male-female romance. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
romance of a film. It's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my childhood, reminds me of that. I was in the theater every night. Alfredo in the movie was much like my Uncle George, an old
Wow.
bachelor who he was in the theater every night, and I would watch the movie the first night maybe two times, and then it
Mm-hmm.
would be there for 2 3 weeks, so it would run another 20 30 times,
Right.
and I would watch the audience after that. you know I watched the audience and the things that were going on in the audience, and it was really funny. It was just like in
Mm-hmm.
Cinema Paradiso. So
Wow.
anyway, what that has to do with my music, I mean, it's just a part of, you know, it was one of the privileges that I had to come into a world where there was creativity. My family's not creative at all. I'm the only creative person in my family, but I lived in this world where there were movies every night. I was in that movie theater every single night, and I would not just watch the movies, but I'd think about this whole process of of entertaining people. These two projectors were entertaining 300 400 people
Mm-hmm.
every show, and so I think that's all a part of me making my way to music here now after all these years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the
Definitely.
visual, I think that's a big part of the visual element, and I can credit some more things too. I mean, I really I had a very good friend, a girlfriend many years ago. She was from the Czech Republic, and she was very creative person, and her fashion was an outlet for creativity
Mm.
and was a great influence on me, and I'm really grateful for that. Over the years, I always was a little bit that way myself, but it became
Mm-hmm.
more and more of that over the years. And so,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
building a band, I thought, music today, I mean, always the music is really important. What the music is, what the story is, what the sound
Mm-hmm.
is,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe equally as important. Just like in a movie,
Mm-hmm.
if we watch a film and we take away the sound, what percentage of the film is gone?
Yeah, a big
It's
percentage. Yeah,
right,
huge.
maybe more than half, right?
I would
And
agree. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
yeah. And so
Mm.
with music, I find, if you take away, if you have no visual, there's a
Mhm.
big percentage lost. So I believe that, you know, the entertainment factor is music is not just entertainment for sure.
Mhm.
There's more to it than just entertainment,
Mhm.
but the entertainment factor of it, the visual entertainment factor, I find is very important. So
Mhm.
so for me, putting together a quite a visual, I guess I'd call it marketing, but a visual presence online
Mhm.
um, it was fairly natural because of
Mhm.
where I come from,
Of course, of
and
course.
film, the years of film, being involved
Nice.
with people like yourself with beautiful
Yep.
visions, and
Thank you.
I've watched, I've
Yeah.
seen them, and I've had them.
Yeah, I know it's very good. So, the members of the band. Let's talk about. You said you had some of them you already played with in the past in different bands, blues band,
That's right.
and at the formation, some of the starting. I don't know. The members were like the same. They changed. They like which one? How did it all start? Can you want to explain a little bit?
Yeah. there's
Yeah.
been a little bit of change.
Mm-hmm.
And so how it all started was while I was in the blues band,
Mm-hmm.
um, one of the members was Jimmy Lee, and
Mm-hmm.
he's a local Vancouver fellow here.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great guitarist. He lives for his guitar. He plays it all day long. He goes, hides out and plays and plays and plays and plays and plays. And he's a great musician. He interprets things very well. Him and I back and forth. I set up these rhythms, and I basically build the song, and then I give him the freedom to add his accents. And Jimmy Lee is amazing. He does great things with his guitar. So he came along to become a rockabillionaire from our original blues band we played in together. And
Mm-hmm.
so he and I actually, I took a dozen songs, and he and I practiced it a little bit, and we got it together, and just with a couple of guitars, it started to sound good. So we decided, I was saying, why don't we find a drummer and an upright bass player? I really love upright bass, and I know they're very uncommon here in Vancouver for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Probably most places these days because it's such a big, unwieldy instrument. But so we'll find an upright player and a good drummer, and then so I happened to be at a barbecue one day
Mm-hmm.
with Yuri Baby, and she's a friend of mine. She's a well-known local hair artist and makeup artist.
Mm-hmm.
She works in a salon locally, and she's kind of a bit of a local celebrity in that genre. A lot of people really like her work. She's been to the Canadian championships of all this kind of thing.
Oh,
They have these kind of things for hairstyling and makeup, and she's done very well and all that. And she's really creative, but a very visually interesting person. Always has some interesting style about her. She's a Japanese woman, and she's super cool, really cool. Everybody
nice.
who knows her thinks she's cool. And we were chatting, and I said, yeah, we're pulling a band together and we're looking for a drummer. And she says, I play drums. And I said, well, this was meant to be. And I said, well, you're going to have to play in our band. And she was totally down, and she came along. So
Nice.
that was how Yuri got involved. And she was lovely. She's visually amazing, as you'll see looking through the photos.
Nice.
Very beautiful woman, but also very stylish and interesting and fun. And
Mm-hmm.
And so then, I talked to one of the bass players from another band, Johnny V, and said, "Oh
Okay.
yeah, we're putting together a rockabilly band." I played harmonica in the band with him,
Mm-hmm.
and he was playing just a regular electric bass. That's Johnny V in that picture in the background. He's an older gentleman there. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, well, I play upright bass. And I said, really? He said, yeah, I play jazz. And I said, well, you could probably play rockabilly. So
Wow.
we got him together with us, and he could play. It was great. And so that's the original Rockabillionaires band right there. And that photo was taken before we ever played a show. Actually, that was our first photo shoot. And
It's
so that's
amazing.
Yuri
Mm-hmm.
Baby, Jimmy Lee, Johnny V, and of course me. And so that was our first band. So that's how we got
Mm-hmm.
together. We played our first show. We really had a great time, building that first set, and we played hard. I was a bit of a slave driver, and we'd keep us out there for 4-hour rehearsals and 6-hour rehearsals, which to me seems like a short day after working in film, as you know, Matteo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. I know. Right.
If everyone else seems like long, usually a lot of people rehearse for an hour or two or three or whatever. So, but anyway, we had a great time, and it came together. So that's basically how we started, and
Mm-hmm.
there have been some changes in the bass position,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because uh, we were traveling around a lot doing shows, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a bit much for Johnny V. He has a lot of things on the go, and he's a bit older, and he thought he should move on. So
Okay.
he really very graceful about it, and very helpful to us all
Mm-hmm.
in filling his spot. And so we then found Mike Stone.
Mm-hmm.
which this was a really amazing story of how we found Mike Stone, actually.
Mhm.
Because I said, well, we got to find we had about 2 months to have a replacement player for Johnny for a show that was out of town. Because we had a lot of local shows, and in 2 months' time, we had an out of town show. And I said, so that means really within a few weeks, we need to find an upright bass player so that they can work with us for a month and get ready. And so we were rehearsing one night, and Jimmy Lee wasn't there, who was our lead guitarist.
Mhm.
And we're in my studio here, and all of a sudden there was a knock on the door. Now this is 3 doors in, basically from
Wow.
the outside world. There's a knock on the door, and I opened the door, and there was a young guy with a Fender Stratocaster. It's a 6-string guitar, not a bass at all, in his hands. And he said, "Is it okay if I'm in here?" And I saw the guitar, and I said, "Well, Jimmy Lee's not here. Can can you play that guitar?" And he said, "Yeah, I said, "Can you play lead?" And he said, "I think so." I said, "Well, it's definitely okay. You can come in. You're going to play." So this guy, he just walked past us on the
Wow.
street. He heard the music from outside. He had walked past several nights and heard us playing, and he was curious. And he was a young guy, really nice young guy, and Mike Stone. And he came in and he played lead guitar for us.
Wow.
And actually, there's a little bit of story before this that I didn't tell you. Actually, we did find another bass player before
Mhm.
him. Our actual bass player, Mike Stone, was going to fill in. So our actual bass player we did find, who's Dave DePerla, who is from Italy, and Davio I call him. And anyway, he's a very experienced upright bassist. Played in a
Mhm.
psychobilly band with Frankie Maggi, the band called the Maggis in Italy, well-known band. You could check them out
Mhm.
in all over Italy, and they do kind of psychobilly, hardcore, really fun, but
Nice.
rockabilly sounds too. And Dave is just great, fun, super, like all you Italians, has a great
Chill.
attitude, chill, happy, just really
There you
just
go.
a lovely, good person. And so
Nice.
actually he was with us, but he was going to be away. He was going back to Italy. So that's when we needed to find a replacement for him for a while, at which point Mike Stone came in and he played for Jimmy Lee that night. But then we said, Mike, we're going to move you because he could play bass, but he just didn't play upright. So we said, we're going to move
Mhm.
you to bass and teach you, you got a month and a half or so to learn all of our songs, which were 45 songs,
Mhm.
um, on the upright bass, which he had never really played. So we got him started. And in a month and a half, we went and played. He played his first show with us. And that weekend, we had 5 shows. So he played
Mhm.
5 shows his first weekend because we
Mhm.
had three festivals
Mhm.
and two bar shows that weekend. So
Wow.
we played 5 shows. So he played with us that weekend. So yeah, him and Davio, the two bassists that we got. Now Davio is back he was away for a bit and went to Italy, and he had some things tying up his time, but now Davio is back. So he's our man. You'll see photos of him there as
Yeah.
well.
Let's find him.
Um, Mike has a little goatee, usually a little bit.
Let's see if you can find him in.
I can point to, yeah, in the photos. I'll point him out to you.
I'm just scrolling down here.
Yeah,
Is he here?
yeah. It's a bit small there for me to see.
Oh, let me see. Let me see. We're gonna scroll like he's a
Oh yeah, so
29.
that's Mike Stone. In that photo shoot, there was Mike Stone. That's him
Mhm.
with his hand in the air.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he was our fill-in bassist,
Mhm.
and it's great. We got him going in a month and a half, and then the other fellow you'll see, we did have one guy filled in for one show. You might see him there. He
Mhm.
actually played a regular electric bass, but you'll see some good shots of Davio
This is
there. I
another
went through that.
show.
That's Mike Stone there too.
Yeah.
That was at yeah. This is in the most of those are in the Mike Stone era. Yeah,
So
that's him.
basically 2019. So we're gonna have to
There you
jump
go.
to.
There you just passed Davio. There he is. There. Yep. Back one or back a couple, and there he is. That's Davio there with the upright bass.
Right.
So
There
you
he goes
just
in
missed
here. Right.
it. There. That's it. There.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Dave DePerla.
Yeah,
Really
David
great
Hill.
bassist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's a super, psychobilly, rockabilly style guy. He gets up and stands on that bass, and
Mm-hmm.
he's
Nice.
he's great. Yeah, and he's like, he played with the Moggies for 10 years, so he's played thousands of shows, or a
Mm-hmm.
thousand, at least 1,000. So that's
Nice.
that's the Rockabillionaires right now. Is Davio, Jimmy Lee, and Yuri Baby, and myself. That's Yuri Baby there. That's Davio
Mm-hmm.
there, and
Interesting.
that was
Very,
the
very nice. I
evolution of the
mean,
band.
the stories that you're telling me looks like, sounds like it's really like, I mean, a lot of things were meant to be. You met this person. This guy comes across the street and kind of like, and wants to play. So that's pretty interesting the way all these things happen all together, right? So,
Yeah,
and it's like the stories that they tell when they tell, when like, I don't know, the Beatles or like big bands, they say, oh yeah, that's what happened at that time. Like that sounds like something
yeah,
that can build out that way. So you guys I've been playing primarily in Vancouver right now.
yeah.
Um, yes,
British Columbia mostly, like the
Columbia.
lower mainland. But we've
Hmm.
been, we've gone into the interior BC and along the coast and some of the islands, Salt Spring Island and over in Seashelt and all these areas, and
Hmm.
in as far as Kamloops and Nelson and all in around the
Hmm.
interior. We played, but no further than that at this time. Now this year was looking like maybe we were going to have some things in Alberta lined up, and I was
Nice.
working towards trying to do some international stops, maybe one or two, to see how that worked out for us to cross
Yeah.
borders and things. But
Yeah,
of
it'd be
course,
nice to
that's
come to the US. We're waiting you guys.
yeah. I was really excited about trying to line some things up this year, but of course, that's going to be on hold
Yeah.
for a little while.
Oh yeah, for
But
a little bit, but hopefully it will open up. It sounds like you guys are opening up a little bit more than the US for sure. Like there, I mean,
yeah, things are
it's getting
starting
better
to
for
here
sure.
now. Yeah.
Interesting. So another question I had was about, and you're a storyteller, and I remember that actually because you remember that we were taught like back in the day about you writing, the writing aspect of, uh, when it comes to writing tracks. Like you said, yes, you have 45 tracks ready, if not more now, of yours.
Well, yeah, I mean, the songs that we play when we do a show, there's actually
Mm,
50 now,
50.
50-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So we're even a little more than that. So we're getting on 4 sets. The songs are quite short.
Mm-hmm.
Rockabilly is not a long song
Yeah.
genre. But now some of the songs, it's funny because the music is evolving almost as music evolved. We're playing now
Mm-hmm.
some rock that feels like late 60s, early 70s sounds, even, and some that feels more contemporary, even that, I've been writing lately.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry, what was the question about that though?
It was like the question was more like, I was gonna get to the question, then it was more like about how is the process of writing. I mean, it's obviously like a lot of creativity that needs to be involved here, and you're primarily like involved in the writing, I assume. And do you have other members getting into the creative process? Obviously, when you guys rehearsing, I assume a lot of things are being played out there, and then that's where the creative aspect comes from. But how does it work on normally for your band?
Right. Yeah, I guess, I wish I would love to sort of engage in the root of the creative process with others, but it doesn't seem to work that way with the
Okay.
group I'm with. It comes from me all the time.
Mm.
So I write the stories. It starts usually not always from the story. Sometimes I'll be playing my guitar and a song will start from that, But very often, you know, I mean, I've had days when I've written several songs, 5 songs in a day, like, or at
Wow.
least the fundamental of those 5 songs. Back when I was really working hard to build 3 sets, and the fundamental of the song would come, and then I would build, kind of complete writing them over a few days. But sometimes in the middle of the night, I wake up and, oh no, there's a song in my head. That means I'm not going to get back to sleep. So so then I'll finish. I'll write the verses, and then may have a melody in my head, in which case I have to take a guitar and play it, and then I'll make a quick recording so that I don't forget. Because sometimes when there's something if you play it, and then you play it, even if you play it, you feel like you have it. And then if I find if I don't record it and I come back, I might not forget the rhythm that I had. I had some rhythm, and I usually build the rhythms, the melodies, and the rhythms of the songs. I sort of, basically, when I introduce the song to the band, it's already a song. It just doesn't have a drum part or the drums are in my head, but then the drummer Yuri will come and add her drum part to it, and it'll often be a little different than what I imagine, which is great because her creativity gets put there. And then the bassist will, Davey or whoever will add a bass part, which usually naturally fits to what I've written. And then Jimmy Lee will interpret his part, based on what I've written as well. Very often, sometimes now I didn't do much lead in the beginning, but now I'm applying, lead guitar and more, more note-based stuff to songs these days myself. So sometimes Jimmy inherits that a little bit, and other times more often than not, though, he has his own interpretation that he'll add to it. So basically, to answer your question, I write all the stories and I build the shape of all the songs
on the music,
and then at that point, experienced musician could jump in and interpret and add their interpretation to what I've started. Right.
It's very interesting because like it sounds to me like, and we talked a lot about years ago about like the filmmaking process, but it sounds to me like it's more more like it's like to me it's like a set. It's essentially like you're a director in this case of writer director, right? And then that comes to life with the people that are interpreting essentially like your vision, right? In this case, so it sounds very. I remember also you having a very specific screenwriting process at that time that we talked about. Very very. I was impressed because it was very very specific. It was detailed really, and then I guess that translated and into the music, which is very interesting. And I think it's a creative process as well, but it's different because I don't have experience myself in writing songs, but I assume that it's still a writing process that has the same difficulties and obstacles that you have in screenwriting, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's definitely different, but there are some of the skills from each overlap for sure. The one thing I should say for me, music is working so well because screenwriting, especially feature-length screenwriting, is a long road, as you know. You get into writing a feature-length script, and it's some people I hear they can go for a few days and come out with a screenplay. For me, it's not like that. I've heard others take years and years and years, and I don't think I'd be able to hang on that long. But I can go for a month or two at it, and then it takes maybe 2-3 months to get a feature-length script to a point where it's you don't want to throw up every time you read it, right? So it takes a little while. It takes a little while, but with music, I can write, and that's what I love about it is what I'm really enjoying is that I can have an idea with screenplay. I can have an idea, and in 3 months, all I have is just something on paper. Then you have to pitch it and all that, which is fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's one process, and it's exciting and fun. But with music, at the end of the day, or at the end of a half a day, the idea I started with can actually be mostly recorded in a demo form, and I really love that.
Right.
And I can have a product that I can even release to the public in a half a day sometimes if I want to. I'd rather be a little more refined than that, but you can do that. You can, in fact, these days people are doing these things online. They're writing songs and starting to lay down the tracks in front of their iPhone, and you watch the building of a song.
Right.
With a screenplay, that would be pretty boring.
I know. I agree. That makes sense. Yes, and
So
I totally get it.
that's
It's a different process in a sense. Yeah, but it's very
yeah,
interesting. You said the interesting part, like when you talked about like the fact that you found a genre like the rockabilly, etc. This is like the genre that I think was gonna work here in Vancouver. Did you put a lot of research in it? What was this like? Or I know there was a strategy behind it. It makes me think, but at the same time,
yeah.
were you surprised when you saw the reaction, like of having all so many dates for the following years? Like it means like the band is successful, the genre is really successful. But were you expecting that, or was it like something that came out in a surprise, in a sense?
Well, I guess I should talk a little bit more about that actually. So
Mm,
um, I I felt so when we were out playing blues, for instance,
mm,
with the blues band, whenever we played something upbeat, the audiences got excited,
mm,
and they also liked things that they knew. So I guess it's like that everywhere. People they like the familiar. It sort of fires up their adrenaline and they get going type of thing when they it's a bit familiar and it's upbeat. So we would go out and play songs and play do a few songs like I remember Roadhouse Blues.
mm,
The audience would go crazy for Roadhouse Blues when we
mm,
do that old Doors tune. And then uh, and then if we played even upbeat songs that were a bit more obscure, we wouldn't get as much of a response, but still get some. So when I thought about it, I thought, well, what to do in terms of telling my own stories and what kind of rhythms to attach them to.
mm,
I thought, well, rockabilly, just that the 1 4 5. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's the chords, the first, the fourth, and the fifth. That one
mm,
4 5 thing is just such a familiar feel for a lot of people,
mm,
and that rockabilly almost always has that kind of thing going on. It's sort of like an extension of blues with more upbeat, like boogie or whatever.
mm,
So I thought that's great. That'll be helpful. If we can capture people's energy rather than tell really serious stories, like super, because I remember seeing bands, they get very personal, which is good
mm,
too. I mean, not that my music is not personal, it is, but it's personal in a more of a fun way rather than,
mm.
I don't really want to take people a journey into my sorrow. Uh,
Of course,
not that
yes.
I don't have too much, but there's a bit of that goes on, and I find that that's cool, and sometimes it works really well, and but I find that it's it wasn't really where I felt that I belonged in terms of me personally, but also in terms of yeah, looking at Vancouver and looking at the types of people I had already played in front of in these other bands. They seemed to want to have a good time,
Mhm,
and I
mhm,
just felt like old style rock and roll and rockabilly is great, and then I just love rock of all kinds anyway.
mhm,
So I thought that was a reasonable approach. And so the other thing I wanted to talk about was I only wanted to be rooted in rockabilly for this phase of what we do. I thought it's a great introduction is
mhm,
to have it as a root, and not because there's a lot of rockabilly bands out there, and the majority of the rockabilly world, how it works is you do the whole rockabilly shtick.
mhm,
You have the the guy who works in the garage shirt and the rolled up jeans and that whole look and the right hairstyle and the
yeah,
tattoos, and which is cool. And I love rockabilly shows and that are really authentically rockabilly like that.
mhm,
And it's all about authentic, the right guitar, the upright bass, the right look, the right sound, the
mhm,
the, the authentic guitar licks and its type of stories. And I didn't really want to just do that, just be a full, okay, this is the rockabilly genre. I'm going to do what everyone else does and imitate that style. And I
mhm,
thought more of that's the sound I want for some of the songs that I'm working with in the beginning, because I love that, and it's also where rock began. So if I'm going to play rock music, a lot of rock music, why not start where rock started? You know, so that was I thought that's a great way to go. And but if you look at us, we don't look like the typical rockabilly band
Totally.
either.
Yeah. I
We
agree.
have some. I mean,
Mhm.
yours is a Japanese girl, for instance. You don't see too many
Yeah. Yeah.
Japanese rockabilly girl
Very
drummers.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, and I, you know, rockabilly guys don't wear it. I like wearing a tie, but and so that's not very common in rockabilly. Well, that's not true actually, because some of the style is that way. So yeah, I do have that wrong. But anyway,
It, yeah,
um,
it is very
my
interesting. Yeah.
my point is the rockabilly part was what I wanted to root us in, more of a root,
Hmm.
and work with the Rockabillionaires, because I have personal things that I want to do that will be a bit different as well.
Hmm.
I'm working on some personal projects now that are not necessarily all
Hmm.
rockabilly, but there's some
Hmm.
of that rockabilly feel here and there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it worked, and to me it worked. We instantly, you know, guys were saying to me, and the other bands I was playing in, we were, you know, lucky to get a show every month or so, and a lot of guys were saying to me, and girls were saying, you know, if you can get a show a month, you'll be doing really well. And I said, I'm gonna play 52 shows in 2019. That's my goal. I'm playing a show every week, and we didn't actually play every week, but
Wow.
we played 52 shows. It
Hmm.
wasn't every
Hmm.
week. There were some periods where we
Hmm.
played 8 shows in a week, and
Hmm.
then we had a bunch of weeks off here. You know, I actually went to Japan again last year for a month. And Yuri went to Japan,
Hmm.
so we had some periods off. So, but it did work. Yeah, the audiences here and the venues here in particular, and that's what
Hmm.
I thought about, was both the venues and the audiences. But the venues really, you know, a lot of the people at the bars, or the bartenders and the owners, are like, wow, it's just nice to listen to music that they can relate to. They were
Wow.
happy about that, and you know, connecting with the audience was always something that I like to do. I like to get off the stage,
Hmm.
get out there, and get on the tables.
Hmm.
I can tell you some crazy stories about being on tables, that's for sure, and being up on bars, getting up on the bars and playing, and you know,
Please do.
but
Yeah.
it's worked. It's really worked. We've had a great time, you know, and we've in 1 year, you know, made we've got, I think on Facebook we have 1,000
Hmm.
followers now on Facebook, which is
Yeah.
that's not a bad go for a first year,
That's nice.
and played 50 shows this year. I had scheduled differently. I didn't want to play every weekend this year. I booked
Hmm.
March, uh, July, and
Hmm.
October in venues, and then I was open to festivals. That's how I was going to book this year. So we had booked those months really full. So hopefully, I'm not sure what's going to happen with July and October
Hmm.
now, but we played through March. We lost 2 shows because of the situation with COVID
Situation there. Yeah, of
19.
course.
Yeah,
Also to
but
remind the audience their page, Facebook page, Coal Davie and the Rockabillionaires. Indeed, there's like a lot of followers, and all the information can be found here for you guys. And also wanted to talk about first of all, one, yeah, because I just finished your what you were talking about, combination of style, and also like the the key is the relationship with the audience, obviously the connection with the audience, right? When you guys do your shows, that's really important. The other thing I want to talk about right now was also the SoundCloud page where you can find your music, right? Is that correct?
that's right.
And
Yeah. So,
yeah,
oh, go ahead. Yep. Go ahead.
yeah, I was wondering, like, people want to find your music, and we can talk also a little bit about what are the plans about like recording or anything that you guys are thinking about, like planning. Yeah, so
Yeah.
just let us know.
That's a great question. Thank you for
Hmm.
asking that.
Yeah.
And so actually on SoundCloud right now, which you have in front of us here, thank you.
Hmm.
We have 9 of the 10 tracks that we just recorded for the first album. It's
Hmm.
called The Rockabillionaires. The first album is Coal Davie, The
Hmm.
Rockabillionaires,
Hmm.
and 9 of the 10 tracks are there. Those are unmastered, but they are the tracks that will be on the album, and those will all migrate onto the major streaming platforms over the next, probably over the next couple of weeks.
Excellent.
And so we did record here in Vancouver 10 tracks, and for our first album, the Rockabillionaires, and so and I'm actually working now on a solo project, and then with the Rockabillionaires, when we get back together, because I'm alone here now, that's why I'm working on a solo project. But when I get back with the Rockabillionaires, we may do another. We may record together. We're not sure about that yet, just because we've all been kind of semi disbanded here for the last couple of months.
Right.
But anyway, in the meantime, I'm working on an album that it's a little more intimate at this point. Just the first song that I just put down a demo version of is just me and the guitar, and I think I'm going to leave it that way. It's not going to have drum or bass. And I think I may have a few different songs that will be that way. There's still there'll still be upbeat songs in there, and then for some of them, I'll definitely bring in musicians to record. So I would think that by this fall, I'll have a second album, getting probably ready to master and start working with it. And I might even release singles. I might even start to release some singles just because.
Interesting.
It's a whole different thing, So, but things are in action right now. Yeah, there's no shortage of material. It's just getting it all recorded.
Well, good to know that you guys are launching the album like in the next couple of weeks. I mean, good timing also for us to show like what you guys are doing. And the name of the album, I don't know if it's gonna be the name of the band. What's the name?
Yeah. So we're gonna dedicate. I thought I'd like to dedicate this album to the band, since the next album I'm probably going to release on my own. So I wanted to call it the Rockabillionaires. So it's Coal Davie, the Rockabillionaires. So because we're all destined we all may be destined for different directions. I'm not sure. So I wanted to definitely name the first album after the band because they were so influential.
Yeah, that's excellent. So it's going to be on all the major platforms, I would assume, like Spotify, iTunes, all the major the platform of music, essentially. So, but we wanted to play something tonight, obviously, and you gave me a list of tracks that could be interesting to play. Do you have a specific one you want us to start? Yeah, I'm gonna let you DJ tonight. You're our DJ.
All right. Well, you may as well start in the album order. I'm happy to be a DJ. That's great.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the track I wanted to open the album with was a really fun story that I wrote with an unusual name. The song is called Leopard Print Umbrella, and maybe I'll just let it speak for itself.
Yes, excellent. We're gonna play it, and we'll come back after the song with Coal Davie for a couple more questions. Also waiting to get some more questions from the audience, because I saw there's a few people connecting with us. So
Nice.
we're gonna listen to Leopard Print Umbrella, right?
You got it, man.
All right.
Here it comes.
All right.
Good.
All right. Listen to the song. Meanwhile, you probably can hear it. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't hear the song.
No, the song is playing. It's playing on the radio.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, yeah. I'm gonna have a couple more questions for you, and then if anything you want to talk about, we'll talk about, really, because
Yeah, I don't know what else to talk about. The music videos are the next big focus.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to shoot some videos. So for the first 2 songs on the album, I've got some great ideas for videos
Nice.
there. And
Awesome.
then
Yeah, we talk about that, and yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah. Do you dates? Obviously, right now it's kind of early to say because of the situation, but there's no dates right planned for now for you guys, right?
Well, we have local shows on the calendar there, in the Facebook calendar. The local shows are still there; they haven't been removed, so they may happen yet. We're just waiting to see what's going on in the industry. But so they're posted. There are some others that aren't posted that I was holding off a bit, so now I'm holding off a bit more. But local shows mostly we have left in our events calendar for now, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. So yeah, that'd be nice to tell people that just check events, and that anyone wants to see an event, and if Vancouver opens up again and music starts happening, it might be limited space. You might want to get a ticket right away.
I know, right? Okay, I think we're up. Unless, I think we're. It's pretty much.
Yeah, we can play "Keep to the Right," and then we can come back again.
Cool, perfect. Yes.
Next song is "Keep to the Right." You can ask me about that. That's actually a fun little story. Well, not a fun little story, but the song is a fun story.
Yeah, it's going now. Great sound.
Thanks, man.
Loving it, man. Loving it. Yeah, well, when the time comes when your album is out, you let me know, and we'll play a few tracks. So yeah, because I have every morning I do like a morning rock, 3 hours rock, and this will be perfect for it. So we can play it
3 hours. That means you can play my album 6 times.
Everything.
That'll be great.
Hey, more royalties.
That's right.
More royalties. Yeah. Well, right now we're good. We're good in actually we're good in UK, US, and Canada. So yeah, we just got license for those 3 countries. So that's pretty good.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's pretty good. Well, so that we have to, unfortunately we playing commercials once per hour, but at least we're full on real radio. Let's put it this way. So
yeah, that's great. That's really good.
Yeah. Looking forward to see I mean, this is good. I mean, I'm telling you, the visual aspect of your band, the way you guys look at it, it's great. The first time I saw the pictures, like these guys, that's something interesting, right? And and I can tell there's a filmmaker hand behind it somehow, because like
thank you.
Totally, because like all bandy they don't pay attention to their look really,
Yeah, a bit of that happens, but some do, and I always I love to look at bands that have a look that like for instance think about over the years. There's so many, but I just think about the White Stripes. That whole color theme that they had going on in those first few years. The whole was really visual, really interesting. And I mean, go back way back. Led Zeppelin had an interesting. They were really into how they looked. And,
seems like it's a thing, an old school thing really to do really, because I mean 70s, 80s, I mean even 90s, were great decades for bands. And then kind of like everything kind of like fell through. I mean, obviously right now the hip hop, we're on the hip hop wave still, and we're not bands with a soul, with a soul, or kind of like with a look, really a strong look. So that was kind of refreshing, I thought, so
yeah. Like remember James Brown? Remember the James Brown years?
Totally,
so he had a great look.
But there's also a little bit of an 80s somehow. I feel. I mean, not in so much the music, but maybe some looks that there's some like influence from. Maybe I can tell you, but there's some 80s, like the flashing colors. That's something that belonged to that decade, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
there's been so much influence.
Yeah, there's like the another one is playing actually. Jukebox at Isabel now, so we got like.
Oh, okay. Oh, it went down to Jukebox Isabel. There, okay.
Cool. Yeah, it went down the next one. Okay. Yeah, we'll let this finish and then we'll come back.
Sounds good.
More music.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, man, that's good. Jukebox Isabel's a fun song. Actually, that song is a story in that song, and we set up the chorus to sort of work with the story. You know, there's it's like a call and return. Well, she came from down below, and she's here to take your soul. She's irresistible. He sent her straight from hell. She's the devil's jukebox, Jezebel. But the calls are all the souls of the men, whose souls she's taken. So it's kind of
interesting. Yeah, that's
a bit of a fun story.
Yeah, well, yeah, story is the typical story of blues and rock, right? You know, with the old school. I forgot his name, like Johnson. Was it Johnson?
Robert
I mean,
Johnson.
the Robert Johnson, right? Reminds me of Robert Johnson.
Oh, the
One of the early.
Crossroads.
Yeah, right. The Crossroad, the
Yeah.
famous
That's right.
Crossroad, right?
A bit like yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, we're halfway through. Good.
That song's okay. It's a little longer song.
It's a little longer, but yeah, we'll let it.
Yeah. And then there's the next one. There's another one there called "Keep to the Right." It's a song I wrote about Vancouver traffic.
Yeah, Keep to the Right. That's actually the one to play before. So yeah, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about that one and this new one that is finishing to play now.
Yeah.
It's very good stuff.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel that.
He's got some more.
When we get into the U.S., I think that's where the audience is going to be a bit more.
Oh man, yeah. I can tell because here, I mean, there is. I mean, even here, there's like a great. There's a great. Obviously, LA is a great scene, but I'm pretty sure Seattle's got something too.
Yeah.
But if you get people to dance,
in the South, a lot of our music is going to do well in the South. I feel.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
All in the South, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I suspect. I know that I have, on Facebook, and there's a lot of people from all along the South, right? From
like Tennessee and that area, right?
Yeah, Florida, all the way over to California, like all along that.
Texas,
Georgia,
yeah.
and
Georgia,
Alabama, and everywhere along there.
Oh yeah, I should play one of those. Yeah,
Louisiana.
One of those areas.
Yeah, because it seems like I got lots of friends down in those areas now. People have kind of connected from down there, and they like the music. So
wow,
it's cool.
All right, we have 20 seconds,
and
we're back.
All right. That was Jukebox Jezebel. Are we back?
Almost finished.
Oh.
And this was Jukebox Jezebel from Coal Davie and the Rockabillionaires. Sorry, guys. We're back here live, both on YouTube and Radio Channel 96. We listened to like 3 tracks, actually. I lied to you guys. We're supposed to listen only 1, then 2, and then 3, but I think this is good. We did listen to like Leopard Print Umbrella and Keep to the Right, and Cole, you had some interesting fact about Keep to the Right, like song about Vancouver, you said?
It's a song about Vancouver traffic.
Vancouver traffic, yes.
Vancouver traffic, yeah. So yeah. I mean, I'm sure that it's universal, but basically urban traffic, and it's kind of about people's desire somehow to be in the left lane driving slowly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure everybody can relate to that. They can relate to people in the left lane ahead of them that won't get out of the way. So that's what that song is about. It's kind of fun psychobilly take on it, and light psychobilly, that is.
Yeah, nice. And then we listened to the other one, which was Jukebox Jezebel, the one that we just finished, and that has an interesting story as well, right? We were talking offline, and you can tell us more about it. What is about?
So
How the song came about?
that one's a relatively straightforward story about the devil who sends his sends someone, a soul, a taker of souls, basically, to Earth, and she's at the same bar every night, and the story's told by the bartender, who sings about the jukebox Jezebel. And anyway, the part in the chorus, the calls it's a call and return chorus, and the calls are by the people whose souls have been taken, or by the souls, basically. The souls are doing the calls, and then my voice is doing the returns.
Nice. Yeah, that has, I noticed that has more like a slightly lower pace than the other ones, but and a longer song track, right? And that as a more like a blues also a little bit, if I'm correct, right? Aspect like blues rocky.
Sort of, it's its own thing, I think, but it's got a bit of a more sensual feel to it.
Sensual, like, yeah, totally. We want to talk about a little bit, a couple more questions about the music videos. You mentioned something that there's something in the works right now, correct?
Yeah, there's something in the works right now. I know, it's we all love. We talk so much about visual, and for me, the actual video element and the visual element, including the video and filming, is part of everything. So, and I understand, for me, I mean, I love to listen to music, but when I see something interesting to hold me to that music more, it's even better. So we all, in the music industry, we all want to create something visual for people to grab onto as they listen to our music. So the first couple of music videos we're looking at, we have some great ideas for Leopard Print Umbrella. Just an upbeat, really fun song, and then also for Keep to the Right, because it's just a also fun song. I think that
totally.
that a good video would serve well, and I'd love to shoot videos for every song I ever record. So I'm not sure if that's how it'll go, but it would be fun to do that.
Well, maybe it can be like, being a filmmaker. I'm sure all the how to get the proper result on your music. So I'm sure it's gonna look great. We're looking forward to see the video and to listen to the album. As soon as we have a date, we'll let you know. We're gonna play the tracks, obviously, on our radio.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really thank you, Cole, for tonight. I think it was a very, very exciting insight of your band, really, and your creative process. Very interesting, for sure. And I would really stay here for talk with you for hours, because there's so many
me too,
interesting things really to talk about. Because definitely, I like the kind of music that you guys are doing and playing. So, but we'll definitely have you back again one more time, several times, hopefully, when you guys are doing more albums and your own solo album that you talked about potentially, right? So looking forward to have you back again. We're gonna play another track, and you pick it.
You pick the track. There's a lot of fun options. What we should play is here's a quick one, short song, but really fun. Listen to the words. There's a great story in there. It's called Street Corner Susie.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. We're gonna play Street Corner Susie right now. Coal Davie, Rockabillionaires. Thanks, Cole, for tonight. And you guys can look at the video all week. I mean, for the rest of for whatever you want on our YouTube channel. And we're gonna play the interview again via audio, via a radio, a few more times this week. So thank you again, Coal Davie. Thanks for coming, and everything. Good luck with your project and the band. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Matteo. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to see you again after so long. So next time I'll interview you.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun. Thanks so much.
Take care, my friend. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We really appreciate it.